perfectly placed because we're staying with that story. Business with Kate. Taking a closer look at the TTIP negotiations, sparking a lot of protests in Germany, haven't they, Kate, over the weekend? But Barack Obama and Angela Merkel still pushing for this deal to be sealed. Just tell us what the fuss is all about, can you?
Well, we're going to start with a look at just why the EU and US really do want to push through this transatlantic trade deal. The idea is to remove tariffs and create the largest free trade zone in the world. Now, proponents of the deal, including Barack Obama and Angela Merkel, say that it would add nearly 120 billion euros to the Eurozone's economy, about $95 billion to the American economy. They also say it would boost exports and create jobs on both sides. Now, just how many is unclear, and this comes back to one of the top complaints from protesters. It's about the lack of transparency in these negotiations. They've been going on for years, but protesters say that there's no public scrutiny or discussion of the measures that are being proposed. Regulations are also a source of concern. Opponents fear that environmental and consumer standards would be negatively affected. In the EU, for example, the deal would allow genetically modified food items to be sold without specific labels, while the US might have to change its strict rules on car emissions. There would also be changes to the legal framework for protecting investments. The deal would decrease companies' abilities to take legal action against states that they believe are hindering potential profits. So quite a lot of elements here, a lot of controversy, certainly a lot of unanswered questions as these negotiations go forward. We'll be hearing a lot more about it in the days and weeks to come.
I'm sure we will. What about the markets today then? How are they faring, Kate?
Well, Asian markets taking a downwards turn as they start the trading week. The major indices down just about 0.5% each or so. We're expecting quite a rocky week on the global markets as investors eye several central banks. That includes the Bank of Japan and the U.S. Federal Reserve. Their meetings usually give indicators about how the global economy is doing and the risks facing individual countries. You can see the Nikkei there leading with the steepest losses there, about 0.75% there. Now, European markets bucking that trend with a pretty soft open, just the CAC in the red for the moment there. Frankfurt DAX and London FTSE both just slightly in positive territory. We'll also be keeping an eye on financial results from tech giants like Apple and Facebook, as well as energy companies including Exxon and Chevron. All that to come later this week. Let's turn to some of the day's other business headlines now. France's EDF is getting a €4 billion lifeline. About three-quarters of that will come from the government, which has an 85% stake in the struggling energy giant. Economy Minister Emmanuel Macron has meanwhile put off a deadline for EDF's involvement in the Hinkley Point nuclear project in the UK, saying France is committed to the project, but that a final decision won't be made until September. Mitsubishi Motors is unlikely to issue an earnings forecast for the coming year when it announces its annual results on Wednesday. This as uncertainty grows about the financial impact of its emissions scandal. Last week, the Japanese automaker admitted overstating the fuel economy of 4 of its models. The scandal wiped out around 40% of its market value in 3 days. Shares fell a further 5% on Monday. And Saudi Arabia is expected to lay out a blueprint for its economy as the future of the oil industry remains uncertain. Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the son of King Salman, wants to diversify the kingdom's economy and create more jobs. The Saudi economy has suffered from plummeting oil prices, which hit their lowest point in more than a decade earlier this year.
Kate, got something for you here. Buen compleanno.
Not bad, not bad.
Do you know what that means?
I think it means happy birthday in Italian, doesn't it?
I probably
Buon
completely
compleanno.
said it wrong, but I did my best. One of the most iconic motors on the road has celebrated a landmark anniversary this weekend.
Yeah, taking birthday wishes in any language and accent, I think. This is Vespa, of course. It means wasp in Italian. It's been buzzing along since it was unveiled back in 1946. Since then, over 18 million units have been sold worldwide, over 1 million in the past decade alone. Diptyque Laurent has more.
It was a scooter that revolutionized the motorcycle industry in post-war Italy. Enrico Piaggio asked his engineer to design an inexpensive two-wheeler after the war destroyed his family's production facilities. The engineer, who had designed Italy's first helicopter, hated motorbikes. He found them uncomfortable and dirty, so he set about designing the two-wheeler that he wanted, with aircraft-inspired aerodynamics and a concealed engine to keep clothes clean.
Vespa represents the best of Italian style. It represents industrial creativity, And the genius to have been able to use technological solutions.
It was an instant hit. By the 1950s, Vespas were produced in 13 countries.
In 70 years, 18 million Vespas have been produced. This success is not only rooted in the past, but also in the present.
Sales dropped in the 1980s when the Italian economy was booming and people preferred to buy cars. By the early 2000s, the Vespa made a comeback with a renewed desire for its retro design and its practicality in big cities. It was also a marketing dream. Vespas featured in countless films, music clips, and was even built for the French army to carry bazookas in the 1950s. Vespas have also courted controversy. Earlier this year, the mayor of Genoa, Vespa's birthplace, tried to ban the two-wheelers in a bid to combat pollution.
A classic there for you, Stuart.
Certainly is. Joyeux anniversaire. Happy birthday as well to the Vespa. Thank you very much, Kate.